Welcome to episode number 39 of Life Without Cravings. In this episode, I'm going to talk about what you can do when you feel like you're not going to be able to get through the day without going off on a binge or at least going off of your diet. Binging is something that is often connected with the all or nothing thinking. You might have heard me talk about all or nothing thinking or black and white thinking. It's just when we go to the extremes, it's like either it's perfect or we just go completely off track, do whatever we want because we have blown it anyway, when there's nothing in between. So if you are, let's say you're worrying about not being able to stay on your diet for the rest of today, and you know that if you have one bite of something, you're gonna go into, I call it fuck it mode, where you just, fuck it. Now, since I had one bite, I may as well just continue and I'll start again tomorrow. Or if you, let's say some people, they wake up in the morning and they just know that today is going to be a binge day. So they just resign. First thing they do in the morning, they recognize that this is going to be a binge day, and then they straight away, they just resign to it. And they decide to make this a good one. I'm going to get all the good stuff. I'm going to binge on it so that I'm ready to start tomorrow. Because somehow we're telling ourselves that if I just have a really, really good binge, all my urges and all my needs are going to be satisfied so that I can stop tomorrow. It's like we somehow build up this reserve where we're going to have more strength and more resolve tomorrow. And we know that that's not going to happen, but we still tell ourselves that it will happen. This time it's going to happen if we just have a good enough binge. So if that's you, you are 100% suffering from the all or nothing thinking. A lot of the time, thinking like this is actually, it serves as a way for you to continue binging. It's just a really, really good excuse. Because if there is nothing in between perfection and being out of control, as soon as you're not perfect, it just opens the door for you to go and do whatever and not having to think about it or not even having to try anymore. It gets you out of that pain a lot quicker, and that's why we often choose to stick with the black and white thinking. So the question here is, what's in between the black and white thinking? What's in between perfection and being completely off track? When you don't allow your mind to even consider what's in between and you are striving for perfection every single time, and you're just missing out on these steps that are actually in between that could potentially lead you down the path to a better relationship with food, but you won't even look at them because it's black and white thinking. It's either I win or I lose. Either I'm perfect or I fail. There is no yes, I made progress, or the fail wasn't so bad today, or I just had 3 bites. There is none of that. Then you're missing out on all of that, and all of that could be progress for you. Those could be small wins along the way that you're not even looking at. They are not even a possibility right now because you're stuck in the all or nothing thinking. So if you, let's say you notice that you have an urge to binge, and you think that I won't be able to stop this binge. If that's where you are at, which is what I'm going to talk about, what you can do in this moment, there is still a lot that you can do in the time between that you notice that you have this urge and you thinking that you won't be able to stop it. Between that and the moment when you actually start binging, there is a lot that you could do in that time between. So the very first thing, the first step, is for you to just take a break. If you have ever heard that you should count to 10 before speaking when you get angry, it's because it takes your body a little while to start breaking down the chemicals that produce the emotions. And this is the same for cravings. So anything that is triggering you emotionally works this way. So whether that is an urge to eat or an urge to shout at someone. Taking a break will, on a biochemical level, give your body the time to break down those chemicals and lessen the intensity of that emotion. This would just give you a little bit of breathing room where you're not so overwhelmed by this urge, if you can take a little break. Now, for cravings and urges and for most emotions, if you can, give yourself 90 seconds. That's kind of what they scientifically have figured out that it takes before all of those emotions are biochemically broken down. That will just give you the best chance of taking control again. And then you can take another 90 seconds after that. See how those urges to eat are changing over time with every passing 90 seconds. You might even notice that they go away completely. Maybe it was a short-lived one. Sometimes they're longer-lived because we're sticking with that trigger. So rather than thinking about all or nothing thinking, I'm going to start tomorrow, I'm going to take it one day at a time, we take it 90 seconds at a time when we have an urge. It's just going to give you that little bit of edge where you have an opportunity to actually do something. If you feel like 90 seconds is actually an eternity when I have an urge to binge, if that's the case, that's fine. You can start with 10 seconds or even 5 seconds if that's what you need to do. Or maybe you can do it for 30 seconds. Whatever you need it to be, however short you need it to be, start there and start beginning to work yourself up towards at least 90 seconds. I usually tell my clients that, hey, if you can do 30 seconds, increase it. 5 minutes, fine. If you want to do 15 minutes, just feeling these emotions or these urges, do that. But we don't want to spend all day sitting and just observing our urges either. If you compare it to someone who's really sedentary, they want to run a marathon and they're like, I don't know how to do that. What they would do, they would probably go outside, they would probably go for a walk, and maybe they would run 5 or 10 second intervals during this walk to start with. If you haven't moved a lot, and especially if you're overweight as well, running for 10 seconds feels like an eternity. And maybe that's where you need to start. Allowing yourself to just feel, notice what's happening for 10 seconds. Whatever you can do. The most important thing is that you actually do take action and that you're doing something. So however long you can do it for, however long you can wait before you go and have that binge, just do that. Aim for doing the same time or the same length every time and slowly increase it until you can do 90 seconds. And the second thing you want to do is that you want to bring the awareness to how intense the cravings are. So we're paying attention to what the cravings or the urges feel like in our body and how intense they are. And you can do this either by just observing and feeling like this is a really strong one or this is a weak one, whatever, or you can use a scale from 1 to 10. I like using those scales sometimes. And imagine that 10, that means that literally you, short of being chained and locked into a room, there is nothing that is going to stop you from eating. That kind of urge. Whereas a 1 is just like the kind of urges that I have nowadays. It's like, it would be nice with something, and then it's just gone. So it's more like a thought. It's just a thought that, it might be nice to eat. But meh, I'm not that bothered. That's a 1. You stop paying attention to how strong the cravings are. And the third thing that you do, the third step, is that you want to be curious about what is actually happening. What's happening emotionally? What is the physical sensation of that emotion in your body? The first one was just to actually bring the awareness and feel the intensity of it. And now you want to start paying attention to what it feels like when you feel that urge. And if you think that there is nothing there, check again the next time that you have an urge to binge. If even that is hard to do, check in with any other emotion just to teach yourself how to check in on feeling those sensations in your body. So you can do this during these 90 seconds when you have that break. Do a body scan, just check in, feel what emotions can you feel in your body and where are they. And the fourth step is for you to also notice what your brain is telling you. your brain will for sure have opinions about what you're doing and what you should be doing. So if you pay attention to this, what is it that your brain is telling you when the urges appear? And that's also something that you can do during the first 90 seconds or during the second 90 seconds, whatever you choose. What you're going to notice is that you are going to have a lot of thoughts that are encouraging. They're going to be encouraging you to eat in some way. So they might be the thoughts like, it's just going to happen anyway, so we're going to start over tomorrow. Or if I just eat today and I eat all the things that I want, then I'll be better prepared tomorrow. It might be thoughts like that. Just pay attention to what they are. And you're most likely going to have a lot of them. So you can just write them all down and have a look at them, because these are thoughts that you probably are thinking almost every time you have an urge. If you can pick up on them, you're going to be able to stop that from happening earlier and earlier in this habit loop. So if you allow yourself to just hear these thoughts as if it was someone else telling you them, and then you can just acknowledge it and you just tell yourself like, yeah, okay, I hear you, I hear your opinion, I hear what you think that I should be doing, but that's not what I want to do right now. Or maybe it is what you think you want right now, but then you can also just like hear them and assess them. We don't need to believe these thoughts as being the ultimate truth, because we know that it isn't. It's not going to be any better tomorrow. You know this. Even if you have a binge today. The only thing that's going to be better today is that you're going to get rid of this uncomfortable urge that you're having. And then after you just acknowledge that you have these thoughts and you're like, okay, thank you for telling me, fine, then ask yourself, like, why do you think that these thoughts are here? What are they trying to help you with? Because usually we have these thoughts because they are genuinely there to help you and protect you in some way. So what are they protecting you from? Can you figure that out? And does it make any sense that you would even have these thoughts, even if you rationally think that it's a really stupid thought? Like, does it make sense on some level? And if so, why does it make sense? Because from what I see most often is that there's almost certainly a reason for why you are thinking it. So try to show yourself a little bit of empathy by just exploring and be curious. See, how does this make sense? When we know why it's making sense, then we can have the empathy for ourselves and okay, yeah, that makes sense 100%, but it's still not what I want to do. I don't want to eat as a response to this. And then that is a choice that you can make. And number 5, ask yourself what you need. A lot of the time, we want to binge to replace some unmet need of some kind. Whatever you notice is good. Doesn't matter what you notice, but if there's a need, take notice, write it down, have it there so that you know about it. And when you bring awareness to this need, it will become easier to address it. So even if you're not able to stop a binge just because you have found an unmet need, maybe what will happen, because you are now aware, you're bringing the awareness, is that when you're binging, you're going to binge less. That happened for me. It was like every time I went off track after I had taught myself to be aware and pay attention to everything, what happened was that my binges were shorter and I ate less during the binge. And sometimes that is a huge win. Like for me, that was a massive win. Like, wow, this is amazing. This didn't even take any effort. All it took was for me to bring awareness, to make that first step, to just not shut myself out and just eat until I felt like I don't feel good anymore. Then I would stop. In the past, doesn't matter. I don't feel good, but I need to eat everything that is here. I need to eat until that bag is empty and until I've eaten all the ice cream or whatever. I would eat a lot more. So just the awareness without anything else that might actually help you just make those binges shorter and smaller. And maybe you've never been able to do that before, in which case it is a huge win. And I want you to see that huge win. It's not perfection. It's not out of control. It's in between. And sometimes we need to take those steps in between and see them as temporary goals when we're moving towards something that we imagine is perfection. Perfection doesn't even exist. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. So you don't want to put that pressure on yourself because it's not going to help you. And when you explore what it is that you need, what you might notice is that maybe there is a need for connection. Maybe you're just feeling lonely, or you need to feel safety. Maybe there is just like a whole array of suppressed negative emotions, and you just feel like maybe in the evenings that's when you binge, and that's when you're also on your own and you have time to feel and to think. That might be when all of those emotions want to bubble up to the surface, and you're feeling the panic and the overwhelm because you don't know how to handle all of those emotions, and you're just going to be like, whoa, let's get the food out, because when I'm binging I put the lid on and I don't have to feel them. Maybe there's a need for less chaos and more calm. A lot of parents feel that way. There's just like, we've been working all day, come home and the kids everywhere, and we're just like, oh my god, I need a moment. Whatever the need is, just have a little think about, like, is there any other way that you can meet this need? Or these needs, if there are several, there might be several needs that are unmet for you, in which case have a look at all of them. Even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, is there a way for you to actually meet those needs? If you could just take 5-10 minutes off, remove yourself from the situation and meet those needs in some way. If so, I would really encourage you to do it and see what comes up when you're doing this. Do you have less of an urge to binge? Does it feel any different? What is happening when you're doing this? If you find that these steps are really making sense to you and you want to learn more how to actually do this, you can sign up for my free training, which is on www.pimjansson.com/FFF. That's a free mini course. You can sign up, you will get it sent to you, you will get a login to a membership area where you can watch all the videos. And I'm talking you through exactly how you can allow yourself to sit with your urges and just feel them, and how you can make this a practice where you just allow yourself to feel those emotions and then choose to not go and binge. And in the beginning, if you still need to binge, that's fine. You just want to get this practice in, because when you know how to do it, it's the same as I just said with the awareness. There is no effort anymore. It just happens. You're just eating less. When you learn how to do this, most of the time, you're not going to have to even think about it, because it's going to happen on autopilot and you're not going to give in to your urges. Every now and then, there might be an urge that is close to a 10, or maybe it's an 8 or a 7, and you have to go back and actually practice on purpose, and that's okay as well. So that training is there if you want it. If you want even more, if you want some help to get there, you can send me an email at pim@pimjansson.com. Book in for a free consult. I still have a couple of slots open for one-on-one coaching, if that would be of interest to you. If you feel like, yeah, I want a lot more than that, I need a little bit of hand-holding, I need someone to guide me through this, I do that as well. You can just send me an email. In the description, you will find a link to all the ways that you can connect with me on social media, how to book a free consult, or my email. You can just go there and get in contact with me. If you have any questions on anything that I have brought up today, please leave a comment and I will make sure to address that either in my live Q&A, or maybe I do another podcast on that. So that was all I had for you today. Thank you very much, and I will see you again next week. Bye!